welcome to the Help Myself podcast. I am your host. See it right there, John M. Singletary Sr. I got to put that senior in there because I got a junior. He's running around here full of life, dancing. We were playing intro music, man. He was in a full strut. He was getting it in, but that's my co-pilot, John M. Singletary Jr., a.k.a. LJ. He's the reason why I do what I do. So y'all hear him in the background. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. But, man, it's great to be back in the saddle. I dropped the podcast, a couple of weeks ago, and it's really quick. I had some technical difficulties just like I just did right there, but things going on. But I'm glad to be back because the Help Myself podcast is the world's most dangerous podcast. Let me tell you why. Because the Help Myself podcast is about putting the power back into the hands of the people it belongs in. And that is you. You deserve to have the power in your hands to create the life that you desire, to create the life that you deserve, to create the life that you dream of. And so I want to put that power back in your hands by giving you tools, tips, having guests and folks on the podcast that inspire you to overlook whatever obstacles may be ahead of you, whatever fears you might have. A lot of times fear comes from the socialization and things that we've been taught in this world. And if we can get past the fear, we can get tapped into our own intuition. We're all designed with a purpose. We're all designed with a talent. We're all designed with something that can contribute to this world. And I'm not telling you to go on some journey trying to find your purpose. Just find something that you're passionate about, or at the very least, enjoy doing. And I promise you, it will bring so much to your life. And so that's why we're the most dangerous podcast, because we're putting the power back into the hands of the people. And obviously, I am the self-declared people's champion. So thank you for tuning in. If you're checking us out on Facebook, if you're checking us out on YouTube, and if you're watching this on the replay, welcome to all my replay viewers. Listen, I appreciate your support. See, we made a couple of changes. We trying to move onwards and upwards and do some great things. I've added a few things to my hat, but I obviously want to shout out our first sponsor. As a matter of fact, I just talked to him earlier on today, Jeremy Wiley of Wiley Woodworks. They're our sponsor. I had him to do some things for us for my retirement so that I could recognize my superintendents, and he did great work on that. He does great work. You can contact him, www.wileywoodworks, or you can go on Instagram. That's at J Wiley Woodworks. So, and you can go check out all of the stuff that he does. But let's play a little clip really quick so you can see some of his work. And right there below me, that is the contact information. That is wileywoodworks.com and at J Wiley Woodworks. If you happen to stroll on over there and decide that you want to get some work done, please let him know that the Help Myself podcast hosted by John M. Singletary Sr. sent you. But just grateful for that opportunity. I've had my hand in a couple of production opportunities. I'm really excited about it. I was going to say I'm by no means a producer, but I actually am a producer now. I produce podcasts, video and audio podcasts. I am a producer. I've been producing my own podcast for 2.5 years now. And now I am pleased to say that I produce 3 additional podcasts. And I've also had opportunities to produce a podcast and a show that I'm on, Real Shop Talk. So I've gotten an opportunity to produce a few episodes of that show, and I produce several other shows. And I got to send a shout out to my brother, Derek Jones of the Relationship Gumbo podcast for not only he didn't give me a fish, he taught me how to fish, but not only that, he kind of laid a paradigm for me to have a thirst and a desire to go and hone my skills in production. And I still believe that eventually I will be able to hire this out. I'll have a team and people doing these things for me. And I've actually been in some conversations with that. But I do love being able to have this skill set because now I know exactly what to ask for when I'm talking about what I want. So there are 3 shows that I have the privilege of producing. The first being Table Talk with the Diva with my sister, Pierre Collins. And she was on the Help Myself podcast a couple of months ago, and we're going to definitely get her back in again. I also produced the AO Capo podcast with my brother, John Frazier. And he's got his own podcast, but we're just kind of working together to kind of get some things going. And then I have the privilege, the pleasure, and the honor of producing Black Men with Purpose. This is a podcast of gentlemen who I've looked up to for the majority of my career, who've guided me, who've been there. And we were just having discussions about this. For so long, I was the little brother, and now I really feel like I'm part of this collective, and the conversations and the tone of the conversations has changed. So I'm really honored to be a part of that effort. And so I produce all of these. The Table Talk with the Diva is actually a live podcast twice a month. And so I'll probably sneak and see if I can't get permission from her to post one of her episodes on the Help Myself Podcast Network. Obviously, the AO Capo podcast is on the Help Myself Podcast Network. And then the initial edition of the Black Men with Purpose will reside on the Help Myself Podcast Network, but then they're transitioning. They have their own YouTube page. So they'll transition to that page, and we will stream from there. But I am grateful for these opportunities, and I got to brag on myself. You know what I'm saying? So let me let you take a look at a little bit of my work.
Speaking, gather them, because I have amazing men on the platform. These are real dads with real life conversation, real situations that they face on a regular basis or everyday life is happening all around us. So this is not no plaything. This is work for us. We are all motivational, inspired speakers that love helping, pushing someone else to the next level. So for us, this is always work. This is just not a plaything. So I want you to know that we are destined all for greatness. We have been positioned, and we are moving in our purpose. So I'm so excited to have these amazing men. They're a part of the same cohort as myself. Leadership of Keith L. Brown. Super excited about our coach, just always pushing and in just implementing. It's important for us to implement what we're being trained and taught to do. So I'm excited, and you should be too, because these dads are, we have a general, then we have new dads. So it's a mixture. So I'm excited about that. So fasten your seatbelt, ladies, and just gather up your sons and your husband and your cousin there and boot them and tell them the diva is on and she got real dads. And we're celebrating Father's Day. So with all that being said, again, super excited. Please do me a favor and share the episode. We're YouTube Live. We are Facebook Live. You will be able to go back and share the link, watch the replay, and get excited all over again. So if you missed a nugget the first time, you get the opportunity to grab it the second time. So if you no longer see the red light in the corner, that means we're no longer live, but you can go to YouTube and please, most of all, subscribe to my channel at Pierre Collins, the Destiny Chaser, because that's who I am. I'm always pushing, preaching, screaming, destiny, destiny, destiny is awaiting for you. So we're moving right along. I'm excited again, excited. So today we have three guests that are coming on. The other gentleman may be a few minutes late, but If he makes it, we're excited. But we have 2 fathers on right now, and we're going to go ahead and get them in the chat and have them pop up. Okay. Here we are. Great evening.
Great evening.
Don, hello.
Yes. Challenges, tests, things along that line is when the way you go through it really makes a difference as to how you come out of it. If you're going through having an issue and going through a process and you're not going through that process well, when you come out of it, what have you actually learned? What have you gotten from the process? Because that's important. It's so important. I'm definitely a process person. I believe in processes. I believe life is one big process made up of smaller processes. So when you accomplish or get through certain points, you have to look back and see what you learned from it. So I know we both have, from the sideline, we've seen other people. So now it's our time.
Is absolute fire. Love it. Hey, welcome everybody to first off, happy Juneteenth and happy Father's Day. We'd like to welcome you all to the first episode of the Black Men with Purpose podcast, titled Who Are We and Why Are We Here? I'm Kevin Danley, and in a few minutes you will meet the other good brothers of the Black Men with Purpose podcast. But first, let me tell you how we came to be. We are 5 brothers. That's BROTHA' brothers, even though I do consider all of them to be my brothers from another mother. But we all met in the Air Force. We have varying backgrounds, but we each have a passion for effectuating change. To be more precise, we have a passion for helping Black males, young and old, overcome obstacles and challenges that can be hindrances to happiness, productivity, as well as success. We believe that through our experiences, successes, and failures, we can have some conversations that might help other Black males in their respective journeys through this thing we call life. That's the Reader's Digest version of why we're here. Now we want to tell you a little bit about who we are. And since I currently have the mic, I'll start it off.
Just a little bit of my work right there, so y'all can see that your boy got a little bit of skill, and we're going to keep getting gooder and gooder, as I always say. But that's a little bit of what's going on. And obviously I was listening to him talking. It reminded me of a few things that I want to remind you of. Support your boy. Go out to the Help Myself Podcast Network YouTube page. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notifications bell. So whenever I go live, you will be notified that the Help Myself Podcast or one of my associated programs is on and popping. But also, make sure you're checking out the audio podcast. One just dropped yesterday. So I'd really like for you to go check that out on Spotify, Apple, Google, and Breaker. So wherever you like to stream your audio podcast, man, go check out the audio version of the Help Myself Podcast. Man, I was in my bag. So go on and check that out. And thank you for your continued support in those endeavors. Thank you for rocking with your boy. Listen, now back to the reason why I say this is the world's most dangerous podcast. Y'all hear my son in the background, right? So one of the issues that I felt that I was facing in recording a podcast, because I started March 20th of 2020. So we're not only in the middle of the epidemic, the pandemic being brand new, still afraid. This was the time when they was telling you to spray your groceries off, let them sit outside, I make the joke all the time. You'd be walking around and be like, oh, my arm is itching. I got it. I got the COVID, so we were during that time. It was during the quarantine. School had been shut down. We were all working from home. And I'm thinking, how am I going to record a podcast? Obviously I had finally gotten beyond the fact that I didn't have any recording equipment. And I'm like, how am I going to record a podcast? And LJ is here and, doing his thing. And this his house too. So, he out here making noise and having a good time and doing what he does, right? And one of my friends said, hey, that is a unique part of your story and your life. You and LJ are doing life together, and he's a part of your life, so he should be a part of your podcast. He also said, you never know how much that'll encourage someone else that may be in a similar situation. That we focus on the things that we think will take away, when really a lot of times those things that we consider barriers really are superpowers that supercharge us to really impact others. And I am proud to know the fact that there are probably people out there that have situations similar to mine that were feeling discouraged, but now they realize they can embrace their entire situation and the totality of who they are and press forward. And so, and that's what the audio podcast is about. It's called Press Forward Anyhow. So tonight, just really quickly, you know, I did all of my other stuff. I showed you some things I'm working on. I want to encourage you to own it. Own it. And when I talk about owning it, listen, I've retired from the Air Force after just a few months shy of 23 years. Let me tell you something. I am still realizing how much I defined myself by my service in the Air Force. There's still so much stuff about me that is still intrinsically connected to my service, but I do have a strong definition of who I am outside of wearing the uniform. A lot of us struggle because we don't know who we are. And we define ourselves by the uniform, by the rank, by the positions, by all of these things that we have done. But you are somebody regardless of that. You got to understand, a diamond is still a diamond even before it is finished going through that process. And those, it's a chemical process, but it's able to go through that because they all understand what is involved. And under the right situation, it becomes a diamond. Now, when we just looking at a lump of coal, we're like, ain't no diamond in there, but the diamond knows who it is. And so that's why it's able to come forth as a diamond, because even before we can place value or assign value to a diamond, the diamond knows who and what it is. And you've got to know who you are. And this is outside of how your job might define you, how your family might define you, how your friends define you, how any positions or offices that you hold define you. Define yourself. And when you define yourself, then you know what it is that you do. You got to define yourself so that you can go do that thing that you were put here to do. Listen, there's something in each and every one of you that if you don't do it, the world just loses out. If you don't sing that song will never be heard. If you don't write that book, those words will never be captured and shared with the world. If you don't start that podcast, your voice will not get out there. If you don't start that company, that is a service or a product that will never be experienced. That thing that you are here to do, I want you to believe it. And once you know who you are, you know what you are here to do. And that's very important. If you define yourself, and listen, I always say, don't get too high because of success and don't get too low because of failures. Every season is important to the growth and you becoming exactly who you were designed and tailored to be. And that's who you got to be. And that's why I say this is the most dangerous podcast, because it's all about unlocking the best possible version of you. Get your life, tell that story again. So you got to define who you are. And once you've defined who you are, you do what you were created, purposed, or that you came here to do. And then once that happens, then you can design your destiny. Yeah, right? You can design your destiny. Once you define who you are and do what you are put here to do, then you can design and define your destiny. Because listen, we were not put here to just live an average and mediocre life. I believe it was Socrates that said it. He said, look, a mediocre and unexamined life is not worth living. And so I want you to examine your life and stop settling for mediocrity when greatness is inside of you. So not to get on the political spectrum or any of that, but one of the easiest ways to maintain power is to design a situation where you have an air of being special or above. And I've watched it. Some of the power structures in the military are completely manufactured. You know, I got out of the habit of calling my teammates my subordinates. Was I the boss? Yo, I'm still a boss. Understand that. I'm a leader, I'm a boss. I claim it all because that's who I am. But they were my teammates because we came together and we all played a role to have success. But a lot of that is manufactured. A lot of times you're answering to somebody who's not smarter, who's not more talented, who's not any of that stuff, but it has to be manufactured for order. And a lot of times in a society, that's manufactured. And an easy way to manufacture that is to make you sleep on yourself. And I mean exactly what I'm saying. A lot of y'all are just sleeping on who you are. You are great. You're destined for greatness. You've got greatness within you. You've got great ideas. You've got great concepts. You've got great ability to execute, but you are around here thinking you're average. You're focusing on average stuff. You're waiting on some other system or some other person to verify and validate your greatness. But you're not going to be great until you decide to accept the fact that you are already great. There's something special. There are experiences that you've lived through. There are things that you picked up and learned. Listen, you would be amazed if you realized how powerful you are. You know, I can use all kinds of analogies because this is my thing. But understand that your mind is powerful. And when you can focus your mind on something great, everything else will amazingly fall into place. They did a test on some men, you know, to see how long they could hold their breath underwater. And they put them underwater and they didn't tell them how long they would be there. And so they're holding their breath. And, you know, they started coming up after about 60 seconds, 65, 70 seconds. I think about 1:10 was the max that anybody did. But the second time, it was a different situation. They didn't just say, hold your breath for as long as you think you can. They said, hold your breath, and then we're going to bring a platform under you to bring you from up under the water. It won't take long. Just wait on the platform. So now once their mind stopped focusing on how long can I do it and was more focused on this is the assignment, some of those men were able to hold their breath for 3 to 4 minutes because they were focused on something different other than I'm just holding my breath as long as I can, because we will always limit ourselves. We will limit ourselves. What if there was no cap on the amount of success you could have in however or what with whatever metric you define success? And the only cap was you were putting a number on it. I promise you the majority of us will put that number too low. We live in a time where we're saying, I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't make time to get in shape because I got too many other things going on. But there's too many folks that really are doing it. I can't get a degree because, you know, I'm not good at school, but it's just too many folks that are doing it. I can't. If we got to the point where we took I can't or the only way to is, and if we just allowed our creativity and our natural genius to take us where we needed to go, imagine what kind of world we would live in. Imagine what kind of lives we would lead. If you stop believing that you've got to live a mediocre life, if you stop believing, listen, I've talked about it on several shows. I talk about it on this podcast, and I'm going to keep saying it. The life that I'm living now, I didn't see this life. I didn't have any way to, I just knew that there had to be something better than the life that I was living when I grew up. And that's my word to you today. There is something better for you. It starts with your belief. So define who you are. Define it. And don't define it like a sucker. You dangerous. Stay safe, but be dangerous. You know what I'm saying? So define yourself as the warrior you are. Define yourself as the winner that you are. Define yourself as the genius you are. Define yourself as the expert you truly are. Go on, you define yourself with your bad self. Define yourself like you really are. But not only that, then do. Listen, if we would stop thinking so much and start doing more, you'd be amazed. And I'm not telling you that every endeavor is going to be successful, but every time you're not successful, you're that much closer to being successful. I love how it was put. I don't remember who said it, but they were like, you tried this 100 times. When are you going to give up? He said, I haven't failed 100 times. I've just found 100 times that don't work. So I'm 100 times closer to success than I was when I started. Listen, keep going, man. Like, you're going to be depressed. You're going to be discouraged. You're going to be distracted, but don't give up. Just keep going. I promise you, just the act of motion will make you better. You will look back and all the things you learned, all of the stuff that you picked up on the way as you zigged and zagged and this, that, and the other, you will find out how much better that all made you just because you kept moving. Now, not only doing, but then once you define yourself, you get to doing the doggone thing, then you can design and define your destiny. Who are you really created to be? You know, we like to define ourselves, or we like to destine ourselves in relation to other people's goals. That was one of the things that worked for me in the Air Force. Those goals were laid out to me. Every promotion, they told me how to get there and what to do, what I needed to do. So it was laid out for me. But now I'm in uncharted territories. I get to specifically and personally design my definition of success. And it's much higher than being a chief master sergeant or a senior enlisted leader. It's much higher than all of the things that I use to define myself, because now this impact that I can have will impact the world. Dangerous. And I will be able to do it based on the principles that I believe in. I won't have to compromise. I won't have to take an L because I got to make that money. But now I can flow in my purpose. I can flow in my passion. Yeah. I can flow according to my priorities, and still be prosperous, not only in my deeds, but be prosperous based on what my desire is and how I desire to impact it. So I'm dangerous, and you are too, because we're taking our power back. And that's why I say, I'm going to help myself. Once we help ourselves, everything else that we need, people, resources, all of that will come to us. But we got to lean into who we are. So once you lean into who you are, what you need to be great, what you need to move to the next level, man, once the student is ready, the teacher will appear. I believe that. And you need to believe that too. So listen, just get out there, define who you are, do it, and then design your destiny. Man, the world is yours. And hey, I have definitely enjoyed hopping on the mic, telling a little bit of the story. We're going to get back on it because, you know, we was off for a little bit, but we getting back in the saddle. Man, it's onwards and upwards. We're going to be doing some great things. We're going to have some individual conversations with the Help Myself podcast, some on-site stuff. Listen, I'm excited. Plus, it's Hot Boy Summer. So I got to get I've been told not to call them that H word short. So I'm just going to go get my shorts and gallivant across the nation. And I might end up somewhere near you this summer. So we'll see. But me and LJ, we're going to sign out the way we always sign out. Listen, I can't help myself. I've got to inspire. I've got to encourage. I've got to empower. But I can help myself by being the absolute best version of myself. And guess what? You can too. So why not we do it together? I can't help myself.